Hey, everybody, quick break to tell you about one of our sponsors, Spiffy. You can manage your mobile appointments, optimize your service routes, track inventory, and process payments, all with Spiffy, and you can learn more at spiffy.com. Welcome back, everybody. Another exciting edition of Mobile Service Monday. I'm joined, as always, with my co-host, Jeremy Stevens, remote Service Operations Director at Bozard Ford Lincoln. And we've got a special guest today, Owen Moon, CEO of DealerStream. Owen, welcome to Mobile Service Monday.
Man, glad to be here. It's been a while. Good to see you, both of you. From some familiar faces, man.
It has been a while. Dave, I don't know if you know this, but I had a joke with Owen that he's like the dealership Hitch guy. You know that movie, The Hitch?
Yeah.
Hitch, because I don't know if I told you this or not, Owen. You know, when you and I met, because you're a great network and you know a lot of people, it's kind of lined me up with Ed Roberts and then got me down to Florida. So I have to thank you for that, because if you start looking back at all the connections you made, you were the one that started that connection.
Well, first off, thank you. I mean, obviously that means a lot to me to be considered that, but I will say this: good people find good people, and you guys would have met some other way, but obviously, good for you. I'm glad you ended up down there. Obviously, been a great fit, especially for what you guys are trying to accomplish down there. And I knew when you told me you were taking the job down there that you're the right guy for the job, and that Ed was going to love you and all the things that you're going to bring to that organization. So, and it's happened. So you guys are crushing it down there, and I've been a big fan, ever since. It's funny, another story on that, and Ed will tell you this as well. I actually introduced Ed to Ted Ings. So all small world, but yeah, and Ted introduced me to David. So, it's to Dave here. So we've had it's a very small knit fixed ops community that I was, definitely, felt great to be a part of and still a part of. So
yeah, it's a small, big business. That's for sure. Right.
Yes.
All right. Well, Owen, it's good to have you with us. And so we were going to talk some marketing here in this edition. And you recently came out with some really interesting information. So let's talk about that mobile service revelation that you guys had.
Yeah. And talk about what you're doing now, your whole company and everything.
Yeah, well, let me start there, because I think that'll kind of tie into the case study that we just brought out. I used to own a company called Fixed Ops Digital. Obviously, you guys know that. That's how we met. We were acquired late 2023 by a company called Trade Pending. Spent a year with them. And as that kind of commitment came to an end, we were looking for something else that we could impact, right? I mean, that's Kevin and I's kind of MO. That's what we've always tried to do, is try to find something that's being underserved, and let's figure out how we can help. And one of the things that we did take a quick glance at when we were at Fixed Ops Digital was how could we utilize video to help drive education, right? Because that's what Fixed Ops Digital was all about, was putting out information on the website, getting information to the consumer of why they should stay home at the dealership to get service done, and why the dealership's the authority, and why they have the right people and the equipment and the technology and all those things. And we were doing video as part of that. They were explainer videos. They were talking about tire rotations and alignments and oil changes and things like that. And we thought, well, what better way to take some of these videos, but to maybe put them out there on OTT or on streaming, right, where we're trying to get in front of consumers when they're on websites, and kind of like that little that ad that comes on before you watch a video, or before you read an article, that kind of thing. And we just didn't really like what we were seeing. We thought it was a lot of cheap traffic, not very well thought out opportunities. And so we kind of tabled it and said, if we ever get back to it, great. If not, no harm, no foul. At least worth looking at. And so late last year, 2024, when we had that opportunity to kind of relook at it, we had noticed that things were evolving. And instead of just doing cheap traffic, low CPMs, kind of that mentality, really the streaming platforms were evolving, and they were giving us the opportunities to really focus more on high quality content, high quality publishers, like your HBO Maxes, your Hulus, your Paramount Pluses, your Peacocks, your Amazon Primes, things like that. And so we said, you know what, this would be a great way for us to, kind of help serve all profit centers, not just the fixed op side, but get back into helping with sales. Obviously, service is a big part of that. Is the initiatives for the dealership, and even vehicle acquisition, but even mobile service, right? Because especially with Ford, they're obviously putting a lot of money and a lot of initiative towards that, which obviously, which is why you're down at Bozar, Jeremy. I mean, you guys have a great mobile service operation there. Not everybody has that, right? Some people are still trying to figure it out, and so we got approached by a dealership group that we were working with. They've got 2 Ford stores in 2 different states, and they said, hey, we have a little lower mobile service utilization than we are comfortable with. We're not trending really well in our district. What can we do to kind of make that work? And so so we put together a strategy and a campaign, and figured out how could we get that information out to the consumer about mobile service, right? And some of the things that we really focused on was the ease and the speed, and then obviously just the convenience of getting service done, not coming to the dealership and that type of thing. And so that was how we kind of took it into the fixed op side, and more specifically into the mobile side. But we were able to really kind of look at it over the course of a year and say, hey, how did we actually help the dealership? And I can get some of those stats here in a little bit, but that's just kind of how what we're doing with DealerStream, right? We're taking those different profit centers and those different things that the dealerships really want to focus on, and really trying to use video and the new way people consume television to get that information out to them.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, because one thing I do like about that type of marketing, it's almost like it's a pinpoint target. It's not like you're just throwing a mailer out there and hopefully people see it. It has some data behind it, don't it?
Yeah, it's funny. We are a true CTV company, and what I mean by that is we're using connected television as our primary strategy in this. If you guys don't know what that is, it's basically if you're sitting in your couch in your living room, or maybe sitting in your office, and you're watching television up on up on the wall, right, on the large screens. A lot of times when you're watching programming, these commercials come on, they break away and they hit 1 or 2 minutes worth of commercials. Well, they call that connected television. It's different from the mobile side, which is more of that online video display type of quick 10-second hitters and that type of thing.
Yeah.
What makes that really valuable is that most people aren't skipping those ads. So we're actually getting that full awareness of the customer to get that message across in a 30-second visual medium, right? And I think most marketing today, whether you're talking the sales side or even the service side, it's all about that low funnel, last click attribution. Let's get people right when they're in that we're ready to buy now. Let's try to hit them with an ad. And I think that has some value, don't get me wrong. But what we're really missing in the space, or what I've seen be missing since we've kind of moved away from that television and radio linear approach, more broadcast type approach, is we don't have that consideration funnel anymore, right? We're not showing consumers why they should come buy from Bozard, or what maybe makes you guys unique compared to other Ford stores in the area or off brands in the area. That's where we come in. That's where DealerStream can really help, is let's show the consumer why you guys are different, what sets you apart, and why they should give you guys the consideration when it comes to buying or servicing. And that's been missing. And we have dealers all the time that tell us that's missing. Their CRMs are drying up. They don't have any new opportunities. So this is where we come in. But it's not just spray and pray. That's to your point, Jeremy, it is very, very targeted in terms of hitting zip codes that maybe we want to influence, or looking for people that are millennials that make money and own a home and are having kids. These are the type of people that are actually spending. They're the ones buying cars from you every day. And obviously when you buy a car, you got to get your car serviced. And so that, that whole circle of life is a real thing. Right. So.
Yeah. I think people are still still thinking like the old TV type ads, right? Where those were still spray and pray, right? Because there was no targeting in those ads. It went out to everybody watching whatever TV program it was. But now, because it's all these streaming services, they know who subscribed to that service and where it's being broadcast to. And that's how you guys are able to really direct where those ads are going for dealers.
Yeah, it's not over demoing by any chance, but it's also not, to your point, spraying and praying. Some of these bigger markets, you can spend a lot of money trying to advertise on broadcast and even on radio, and you'll hit people that either can't buy a car, can't service a car, don't own a car, or more importantly, will never drive over to even give your dealership a chance. And so it's sort of the great combination of the visual of video and of actually running good television commercials with the kind of the digital, enhancement of being able to do some targeting and get really targeted into your primary market area, which dealers are used to and what they really want. So
right.
I do like that. One thing that I do love here at Bozart is you won't see us drop a lot of specials or save this now. It's more of a top of mind branding is what we call it. So we're in the community. If you look at our commercials and stuff, it's not, hey, come by here before the end of the year or whatever. It's more what impact are we making with our people and stuff like that. And that's our message. And then when you follow up with what you're doing, it just seems like they all fit together. It's like a big picture of it and every little piece fits into it.
Yeah, it's really hard on like a display ad or a print ad, right? Or something in an email blast to say, hey, we're influencing your community. We're hiring hundreds of people in the local market that may not have jobs otherwise, right? So you're feeding families and you're doing all the things that most dealerships are trying to accomplish that just don't really know how to get that message out there. I ask dealerships all the time, like, hey, what separates you? And I sometimes get that deer in the headlight look, right? Like they just don't know because they're into it too close, right? And so we start to peel back that onion a little bit. I start to ask them some questions on, hey, are you guys doing this? Are you guys doing that? And all of a sudden it's like the light bulb goes off and they're like, oh, this is what you're asking for. Okay. And all of a sudden it's coming out, right? And next thing I'm like, slow down, we're trying to get but no, that's what we want, right? We want to tell the community why are we different and why are we doing that, doing such a great job of being part of the local community. And that doesn't happen when you're running a $12,000, rebate ad or a $600 lease payment ad. I mean, you don't get that, that connectiveness with your community and with the opportunities that are out there. So
yeah, they've already got an idea of a mobile commercial. It's like, do you like sitting from this view from your couch?
There you go.
They have a mobile service ad.
They're like, here was my day to day, and I got my oil changed and I got my tires rotated, and meanwhile you're sitting in the front of the fire drinking coffee, and they're like,
there you go. I'm changing my oil right now.
Yeah. So Owen, a lot of people that Dave and I talked to, and even in my mastermind mobile group, the chatter's all the same as nobody knows anything about mobile service. They don't understand it. And you would think here in St. Augustine with we have 40 vans rolling around, and every networking event I go to, they're like, you do what? First they think you're delivering new car sales to people. It's like, oh, so you deliver cars. I was like, no. We actually fix them. And then they're just like, oh, okay, so it's not a pickup and I said, no, it's not a pickup and delivery. We actually fix your car in your driveway. And they just think it's the coolest thing ever. So there is a huge marketing advantage to it. And to your point, to me, that gives us a competitive advantage. Something easy to market is mobile service. So it's pretty cool. You're already seeing results in that one store that you're doing.
Well, and imagine doing it actually in someone's driveway and then putting it on video to show them what actually that looks like, right? How easy it is to, pull in and back your car up into the driveway, and they're sitting there changing the oil and rotating the tires and, doing a lot of that general maintenance stuff. It's amazing. It's amazing what that can actually do from someone's educational side, right? All of a sudden, like, oh, so that's what he was talking about. That's what, that's what you're doing. But they got to be able to see it in order to actually, understand it. And I think that's the part that video can do for you. And, a couple things just to kind of go back to the case study, because I thought it was really cool, some of the data that we got there. So obviously, mobile service utilization is a big thing, right? You even increase a dealership 2-3 percentage points. Think about the amount of revenue that's generating for your dealership every month. But one of the bonus, I guess we call it like a bonus impact, or one of the things that they are also giving us credit for, is that when you have more appointments, what happens? You're seeing more cars, you're seeing more customers. Well, what they were able to show was 1 out of every 12 mobile service appointments turned into a vehicle acquisition or a trade-in. So now think about how the service side of the business is now helping the sales side of the business, which then repeats that whole cycle, right? And I thought that was pretty unique, because I mean, we weren't even talking about that piece of it, but just the amount of people that we were bringing to the dealership, or the dealership was bringing to them through mobile service, was causing us to get more trade-ins and causing our dealership to get more vehicles bought right at that point, and we talk about that all the time, right? Like, if somebody could just show the customer, like, hey, if you trade this vehicle in, you're going to save that, maybe the repair today. I know most service guys don't want to hear that, but it is a part of life, right? It is a part of the whole circle of getting that customer, keeping them going, and they bring them back for years and just keep that process going. And I think that was an interesting sort of a bonus impact, they called it, that we didn't probably foresee coming. So,
if the time is right for the customer to trade a car in, then it's the right thing to do for them, right? Just as it's the right thing for us to do to recommend service when it's due to a customer, right? It's not about what the cost of that service is. It's a matter of doing the right thing. And if that gives more opportunities to the dealership to serve that customer in the right way, then that's a benefit, and that's a great thing that we shouldn't turn our backs to.
Oh yeah, there is definitely a lot of exposure, just the curiosity part, because even now, because everybody lives in a neighborhood and they know they got those neighbors that are peeping out their blinds like every 5 minutes, and then you have these people come out and talk to the technicians, and half the conversations is, well, the first thing they said, "What are you doing?" And then they ask, "Can you do other makes and models?" So right there, you're taking some market share. And then all of a sudden they'll talk about, "Hey, have you seen this new car on the thing?" So it's like our technicians are bird dogging our sales department. And what's cool about it is sales is doing the exact same thing to us. It's like, hey, if you buy from us, you don't have to come here to get your recalls or your oil changes done. We come to you. So it's pretty cool how it kind of, blends all the departments together when they see the value that each other has with it. So it's pretty cool to see that.
And that's another potential acquisition lane there, right? You're there to service their X Ford model, right? But there's other cars in that driveway or in that garage, right? That maybe you have the potential to have that conversation with them about that, or maybe they trade that other brand in at your store just because they like the convenience of mobile service, and now you acquired a customer that maybe you wouldn't have had the chance to acquire before.
Yeah, because once they get in somebody's driveway, the customer are this hospitality comes out. And next thing we know, it's like, "Hey, why ain't you at your next appointment?" It's like, "Man, he's showing me his other cars in his garage. He had had another make and model. He wanted me just to look at it real fast, and it turned into something else."
Well, people are more comfortable at home for sure. And so anytime you can take off the edge of having to go to another company, right? Whether it's a dealership or anywhere, it's obviously it's gonna make for better conversations, and you just never know. You just never know until you're there. And but that also puts a lot on your technicians, right? And I'm sure, Jeremy, that's something you guys probably focus on every day is training and trying to, hey, don't just do the job, but also communicate and, ask questions and things like that. And so that's kind of pre-appointment or post-appointment or during appointment. With streaming, what we're trying to do is obviously pre-appointment, right? We're just trying to get people to be aware of the convenience, of the ease, and just really what options are out there when it comes to service, because a lot of people work out of their house right now and they don't have time to leave to go spend 2 hours at a dealership. So if they can just hand somebody the keys and then go back to doing a Zoom call or getting on a conference call because they're working out of their house, I would imagine that mobile service, I don't have these stats, but Jeremy, you could probably tell me a little bit too, as the COVID pandemic kind of brought people home. I can imagine that really was the rise of why mobile service could be vastly used on a large scale, because a lot of people just got rid of their offices and said, hey, we'll all just work out of our house or work virtually. So
yeah, that did have an impact. And then also the impact of the actual physical space that people have and how much it costs to actually add on to that per square foot. Because here, we're on, about 30 acres of land, and it's like it's packed here, and to build is so much. And it's like, for about 120 grand, you could have a van. And then you can have as many as you want to, and still, because ours was a shop capacity. And I taught a dealership was here this morning visiting us, and he's in the same boat. His shop's full and stuff, and that's why he's looking at the mobile side of it, because he was talking about, the tire van. We have 2 tire vans, and it takes a while for people. It takes a while for people to understand mobile service, but when you add a tire van into it, it takes a little bit longer. But because I'm just thinking of your digital ads, I was like, shoot, that would be a cool one. Doing a tire change.
Well, and think about tires. I mean, we talk all the time about how tires are a big retention piece, right? So imagine going to the person's house and switching out their tires right there, what that can do for you in terms of retention, where maybe they're not coming to here to get their tires done. Maybe they're doing it at an off location or an off-brand location because it's close to their house, right? Well, now you took that whole opportunity away from that third party or that independent because you did it right in their driveway. So yeah. I love that. That would be great. So yeah, a lot of great things that we can do with it. And that's one thing that we're, as we're gearing up here for the new year, we had a big growth year. Obviously 2025 for us was just an education year. I spent so much time on the road, speaking at conferences, just talking to as many people as we could about why streaming is evolving and why we're the company that I feel is bringing the next evolution of streaming. And so that was our 2025 mission. And we grew a lot. We hired a lot. We hired some really good people that are helping us, kind of drive this mission forward. I think 2026 year is going to be a big growth year from us in terms of getting into some of those other profit centers, right? Getting into vehicle acquisition, getting into more mobile service discussions, maybe even from a multi-store group, how to pool our money and kind of show the power of the brand and say, hey, we might have 5-6 stores in a market that all kind of work off the same. I'm talking a little bit with Sean Kingery right now. He's got a lot of stores all in kind of the same area. So a lot of cool things happening that I think for 2026 for us will be another big year for us. And hopefully more people will take a look at streaming, and we got a big booth at NADA. So super excited for, kind of where we're going. And it's just fun to kind of be back in the trenches again. I feel like I'm back in startup mode, but I wouldn't want it any other way. So
that's right.
So Owen, what kind of percentages are, what are the percentages of people that are watching on those streaming services? I think about literally the only time I watch anything on network TV is so I can watch a football game, so I can watch the Patriots locally. That's the only time I'm on network TV.
Yeah, great question. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with a company called Nielsen. Nielsen's been a huge data partner for media companies for years, right? That when I was buying linear, traditional, broadcast cable, that type of thing, we were using Nielsen data to tell us, like, how many people are watching the 10 p.m. news, how many people are watching American Idol on Monday nights, things like that. Well, they're still at it, and they are probably getting stronger and bigger than ever, because what they are tracking right now for us is how many people are actually consuming television through streaming platforms. So we just got November's numbers. 46.7% of people that watch television are using a streaming app now. And I think June was the first month that streaming surpassed cable and broadcast combined. So I believe it's going to continue to catapult even faster now. But to your point, David, I mean, look, this is funny. UFC just got rid of pay-per-view. They're now going to Paramount Plus.
Going to Paramount.
I don't know if you guys started watching football over the holidays, but I was like, where are we at? Oh, we're on Peacock for this one. We're on Hulu for this one. You know, that's what they're doing. They're trying to gain market share by putting partnerships together with some of these large sporting, groups like the NFL, the NBA, stuff like that. It's only going to become more and more part of the part of what we're going to have to deal with as consumers. But there's no doubt that I think that the next 12 months will be even faster. And it just shows me that more and more opportunity is there. We're really early, but I feel like we're still learning this as we go, and which is great. I mean, it doesn't mean that we peaked at all. And I think that as we move into the next couple of years, that you're going to see even more opportunities with some of these exclusive partnerships that are being, correlated and stuff. And now even people are merging, right? I mean, I think Hulu, Disney Plus, they all came together now, and they're one big conglomerate. And I think it's going to give us opportunity as we continue to move forward. So,
yeah. So what does the production look like for somebody who's wants to get their dealer into this?
Yeah, so that's been something that's been interesting for me, because in my early days as an agency guy, the OEMs provided us with a lot of great footage, right? So like, if you're looking at the new Ford F-150, they'd have a whole catalog of shots that dealers could utilize through their agencies and stuff. As I kind of move back into this, I'm noticing that it's less and less, right? Because most dealerships weren't using it. OEMs didn't want to focus on it. The other thing that I've noticed is a lot of the OTT companies are really using, cheap Google Voice, kind of pulling in inventory off the website, that type of thing. It's funny, when you run connected television, some of these publishers won't even let you do that, right? They want that more evergreen, high quality looking production. So that's something that we are really focused on for this next year, is to provide really high quality content. We want an ad that's out there that looks really good, especially to your point, Jeremy, if you want to get that message out there that, hey, this is the ease of mobile service, why not show it, right? Bring a camera crew out. Let's shoot some really good footage and really show that whole process being done, so customers don't have any any fear when they're trying to look at that, or even any surprises of what that's going to look like. And you can only do that through good production. And so we've got some really, really good partners. We're starting to look for some internal people as well. And we think 2026 is going to be more of the same, of us helping dealerships get good quality video out there that they can really feel proud of. And again, trying to also play in some of that sandbox with the publishers, because they won't let some of that cheap, grimy production even air on their stuff, because they don't want that. So, and I don't think dealerships should either. Like, think about it, right? $1 million facilities, $1 million in inventory, big brand. They're almost like a Best Buy when you drive by some of these places. And then here's a crappy ad on a 15-second reel. It's like, come on, guys, like let's actually, let's think about what we're trying to convey to the customer, right? So
right. And if it's going to be squeezed in between that high quality programming that you're already watching, it looks even worse. Right?
Good point. Yeah, it'll stand out like a sore thumb, right? It's like, oh man.
Like it goes back to 1980 film.
Right.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't give you that high quality look and feel that you're going for, right? When you're trying to show people, especially with mobile service, right? You wanna make it look like it's a seamless, stressless environment, and I think you can do that through video. So yeah, great.
Excellent. So what other opportunities do you see for dealers if we focus on the fixed op side, for dealers to be able to utilize this? I know you said before when you were at Fixed Ops Digital, you guys were doing those explainer kind of videos. I think those things are still super valuable for customers, right? If you're going to a website somewhere, you're going there for information on something, right? And it's probably not a coupon oil change information that you're looking for, right? You're looking for something else. And if you find some other helpful information that maybe you weren't necessarily looking for, but it's there, you'll watch it if it's high quality. But what are some of the trends that you're seeing out there?
Yeah, good question. I always say you kind of get what you ask for with marketing, right? Dealers sometimes get surprised that they get what they ask for. I think if you're going to talk about that kind of stuff, which I think is really important, your website should be the sort of they always say it's your online showroom, right? It's your digital showroom. So if you're building out good content on your website and actually showing consumers why they should come to Bozard Ford, for example, to get the oil changed or get tire rotations, things like that, like that's a great thing to talk about, but make sure that the experience matches the message, right? And I think that's something that dealerships should definitely focus on. Another opportunity, I think, and I kind of touched on a little bit, is the pooling their money for the power of the brand, right? Bozart's kind of a unique animal that we have one store, right, still? And that's not really common anymore. Most markets, those one store guys are either selling off to the big groups or they're the ones buying stores. So showing the power of the brand, I think, is also a big opportunity if it fits and if it makes sense. Kind of powering, maybe you're sending everything to one centralized BDC or one centralized website where, as long as you're willing to service other makes and models, which obviously some dealerships don't really want that business. They want just their make that they are serving. I think it's a huge mistake, but I've heard about it, from dealers. If they can, kind of focus on that, it's a great way to get more ad spend out there and to get more exposure without one store kind of footing the whole bill, that type of thing. So, obviously those are some different ways that I think you can use streaming. Obviously from a sales side or from a branding side, I think there's a lot. Look, I love companies like UVI, stuff like that, right? Where they're bringing a lot of tech. I don't think the customer cares that it's UVI. Like that wouldn't necessarily do that. But if they say, hey, if you come in and we're going to do a digital scan of your car and tell you exactly what's wrong, those are the kind of things you want to get out to the consumer. They don't necessarily care who it is. It could be Hunter, it could be UVI, it could be whoever. But the fact that you're able to do that for a consumer, that might be just enough to the consumer to go, hey, I don't trust the mechanic per se, or I don't trust maybe what they're telling me, but I trust something that's a little more tech driven and that type of thing. So I think those are all great opportunities, as long as the dealership can kind of back it up. And I think that's any marketing, right? If you're promoting something and you're saying, hey, this is who we are, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, please be that, right? Don't come in and give them a whole different experience, because it's almost hurting you even more, right? So
yeah, absolutely. And so I'm thinking back to something you said earlier with and the word community is what jumped out to me. And it feels like what you're doing is a great way, because it is so targeted, to be able to kind of highlight those things that the dealerships are doing in their communities, right? It's something I've said this all along, that dealerships don't take enough credit for how much they do in their communities, right? And this feels like an opportunity for them to kind of use these channels to showcase what they do in their community and highlight that to the customers, because those are the things that build trust, right? To show that you're not just a business that's sitting there, you're a business that's actually invested in the area around it.
No, you're 100% right. And actually some brands are better than others, right? Like Subaru, they make that part of what dealerships have to do. They have to actually, have 2 or 3 different opportunities that they put out there about the things that they're doing in the community. But I agree. Hey, if you're sponsoring youth sports or youth programs, like that's huge, right? If you're in the church, if you're in a a community center, all these different ways that a dealerships are helping the community every day. Believe it or not, I think most dealerships are way too humble on that. Like you said, Dave, I think they need to get out there and talk about it, not from a beat my chest and look at me kind of thing, but more just like, do you know the impact that we're making? And when you go buy at Carvana, or you go buy from another dealer in another community, not that it's a bad thing to go to across state lines or across the border, right? But it's like, what are you leaving on the table that's not just about the car at that point? It's you're also affecting, jobs and things that are also happening in your own community, which I think in today's world, like that shows so much impact that I think it goes unrecognized in a lot of cases.
Yeah. And you're right. They are way too humble about it. They take that, they sponsor all the teams in the town, right? And they maybe the team gives them a picture and they drop it in the back of the showroom somewhere, and that's so every once in a while somebody sees it. But that's not enough. That's not enough for the community to understand, understand what they really do. And in a lot of these communities, the dealership is the biggest employer in the town, right? They usually 100%. Employ more people than anybody else.
Yeah. And I also think, like, what does that do for reviews? Unfortunately, I think people just love to get on and bash dealerships on reviews. But think about if you're just giving a good, wholesome message about how you're impacting the community. Does that maybe ease up some of that a little bit? Do people feel like, okay, yeah, maybe they messed something up, but they fixed it. And look, they're really trying, and but again, kind of back it up, right? Back up what you're asking for, and I think you'll be rewarded in a lot of cases. But yeah, that's where good production comes in too. I mean, I can already see an ad where it's like, hey, we're in your schools, we're in your community, we're helping your, imagine those transitions, and it never once says, hey, come buy a car and I'll give you $10,000 off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the byproduct that will happen, anyways, if you can earn that customer's trust and you can get them to understand that you're more than just a transaction. So,
yeah, absolutely. All right, Jeremy, how about some final thoughts? Unless you've got some other questions, why we have them held hostage here.
Let's move to the final thoughts, because it's definitely, I like your success story with mobile service, because there's a lot of dealerships that's thinking about it, and there's some that are super successful with it, and they're actually buying more vans now. And I like your marketing, where it's just target marketing. We got zip codes that I don't want to market to, and you got I just love that.
Drive to probably, right? I won't even drive to those zip codes, so why put it out there?
Exactly. It's like, man, it's like with your stuff, you can just hit the area around your dealership. I'm just thinking you attack that, and then you just keep spreading it out a little bit and do a lot of great things. But we definitely appreciate having you on the show today. It's good seeing you as always.
Man, it's been a while. Let's not make it too long again. This was too long, and I've been able to see you guys. So appreciate the time, and thanks for letting me talk a little bit about, obviously, the new company, kind of what we're doing, and even with this new case study. If anybody wants a copy of the case study, just reach out to me either through social media. You can email me, owen@dealerstream.com, and I'll make sure I get you that. But it's got a lot of great data in there, just kind of like, how what we did, how we got there, and kind of what the success was on it. But I think it'll be a bigger opportunity for 2026 for us, and more dealerships getting into it, which Jeremy, you guys are leading the way with that. So I bet you how many stores are coming in to see you guys on a monthly basis just to check it out, I'm assuming. So
yeah, here's about one or two. There was one today.
That's awesome. So but yeah, thanks guys. Appreciate the time, man. I had a blast. So
Owen, great to see you again, and I will search you out at NADA this year, and we'll have a little chat there. And everybody else, we're gonna see you next Monday and every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I say it every week, but block it off on your calendar because you don't want to miss this information. And we will